Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about Expedition. Now, out of all the League reworks, I will argue that this is the coolest one by far, because it now got melted with the new League mechanic Runes of Aldur, and is now quite intricate and has a lot to it. For some people who just want to turn their brain off and blast, I understand that this will not be for them, but trust me when I say there's a lot to be gained here. In this video, I'll talk about how logbooks work, how you can actually determine what you're going to get in those logbooks, how to run grand expeditions, how to make the most out of them, and how to get some of the more powerful items that are in Expedition. I farmed this over the last 2 days over on twitch.tv/Palsteron, and it is very lucrative and has a lot of skill cap at the start when you don't know what's going on, so I'll make it a little bit easier. I will just get this out of the way, but the first thing you have to do is the quest line. If you don't know where Expedition is now, if you see the fortress up here where you do all your skill points, you spawn in right here. Go all the way down and you see this port, the Ruins of King's March. And after that starts a venture into the sea. Now, I would highly recommend to pay attention during the quest line because they explain a lot to you and you will go through all the different bosses already. So there's 5 bosses in total. 4 of them you will encounter regularly on these islands, and then there's 1 pinnacle that you will only encounter once, and then you can later buy the pieces if you want to, but I'm personally not going to. If you can't do the pinnacle boss yet, it's not that big of a deal. You will never have to face him. But important here is there's different kinds of maps. If you hover over here, that's a normal pit map. There's not much to it, right? Like, these also exist outside of the islands. But then there is stuff like this, Prairie Peninsula, and there's new layouts that you will notice, and there's this star formation around it. These are grand expeditions, and your whole map will be full with runes, rewards, and other stuff, and we'll go over that later when we talk about the maps themselves. But okay, so you're venturing out, you finished your quest line, and now you're left with these uncharted waters right here. What do? Well, you need expedition logbooks to open a new biome, basically. So I will show you this real quick. I will activate this expedition logbook over here. It's a little bit of a waste, but okay. So let's activate it right here. Boom. And you can see before there's island rumors, unknown ruins, endless cliffs, and something fishy. These actually mean something. For example, the unknown ruins, I know that there will be a exhumed ruins layout, which is quite strong, and I'll tell you why. So I'll click on this right here. Boom. And it will spawn a new biome, and somewhere here is going to be an exhumed ruins, for example here. These describe the grand expedition layouts. Now, how do I know that? Now, we did some trial and error here. This list is by Wizardin, for example. He wrote it down a little bit more in depth, but yeah, the rumors will straight up tell you what is in this biome. So you can screenshot this or whatever you want. It is not complete yet, but yeah. Important here are a few. Now, the first thing you want to look out for in the rumors is Fallen Starlight. So you hover over here and you see Fallen Starlight. That means you just made an easy 10 plus divines. Now, this is how the map looks like, and we're just going to go in real quickly. You don't really need any special map to do it. It is pretty much not tied to it. It has a flat reward. And the way it works is you go in and you see this big rune here, and there are on the sides these runic hinges, adds a random rune shape to all monsters. So what this does is you want to go here and explode every single one of these before then going back to the main one, to the rune at the end. And then you will get a guaranteed 8 rune or lower reward that you can choose. So for example, what I did right here, right? I connected everything, and then at the end, you have to connect to this one. Then you do detonate explosion, and you just wait for everything to explode. There's no monsters coming out, but you will see that there's rune sockets added here all the way up to 8. So you can see it just exploded the last one, and we're at 8 rune sockets right here. And now we're gonna pick our reward. You can see the last explosion, logbook completed. Click on it. Now, in the future, this could obviously change, but right now, the best reward is actually a 7 reward, which is the Aldur's Saga. There it is. So this one currently goes for around 14 divines, but that can change. Other than that, there's some alloys that are really good. Astrid's Creativity can have 1 additional crafted modifier, is used a lot. Cadogan's Epiphany gives you an extra augment on gloves. You can check these in the future, but those will probably remain some of the top choices. And so, for example, we're going to say here Aldur Saga, boom, and now you have to kill a few mobs, and then you get the reward. If you don't know what Aldur Saga is, we'll talk about that in a second, because it is also related to logbook juicing and probably one of the highest divine per hour strats in general. But okay, we kill it. Boom. And you collect, and you always get this. Now, this is not RNG. Like I said, you can literally pick from this list every single time. So whenever you get this unique map, there's a guaranteed 10 plus divines. Now the rumors can also tell you what boss will spawn. So for example, Star Drinker equates to Uhtred down here. These are just stuff you have to know, and then you can kind of look out for them. The bosses are quite relevant, and they drop some pretty good loot. There's also Sulfide, which is Scorched K. It's a pretty good layout, and there's like remnants that you can explode on. We'll go over an example in a second, but then there's also Unknown Ruins, and this one is the most interesting one, and something that not a lot of people have actually played around with. This one opens a free biome, so it basically gives you a free logbook. Now, this is me doing it live on stream, and these are the precursor ley lines right here. You have to, while you're doing the Grand Expedition, while you're getting your rewards, explode these as well. And they don't seem to really do anything unless you know what's going on. So you have to explode all 3 in the map. And then at the end, I'll show you what happens. So at the end, there's like a bell-shaped zone up here. You can see it. And it now has a clickable object called the Precursor Beacon. And if you click it, you will see this thing in the background go up. And this will open you a new biome. And this is how it looks like. It will literally open your map and show you right here. Now, this one is interesting because as far as I understand, it's a little bit random. You don't know in which direction it will go, but it will connect to where you were approximately. But this is still, I just found this out yesterday, but this was all revealed for free without expending 2 divines or whatever for a logbook right now. And this is pretty important because if you just want to hop around and find these bosses and get their rewards for free, then you can do that if you pay attention to these rumors. So whenever you see the ruins, unknown ruins, you know you're about to get another chain for free. And then we also have sagas. So there is a saga for every single boss. And there's also Aldur's saga, which is extremely expensive right now for a reason. So these can be right-clicked just like an Omen. And whenever you activate an expedition, you get the boss guaranteed. And you can technically get all 4 if you wanted to. So you do this, then you click on the Uncharted Waters, and it will literally spawn all the bosses. Now, do note that if you do the leyline stuff that I just talked about, and you get a free expedition, these will be consumed. So you can technically do all of these also with a ley line. There's no like downside to it. Now, but what does Aldur's saga actually do? It does not spawn a boss. It gives you some special maps. So these grand expeditions that we're about to go in, there are special modifiers to it. Now, the normal modifiers are stuff like chests have 15% chance to contain twice as many items. Nothing contains 40% number of runic. It's like okay mods, right? Like it's not gonna make or break anything. These are the mods you get if you put a Aldur saga in and you open a logbook. Verisium Remnant, one Verisium Remnant in the area will have at least 8 rune slots. That's a lot of money, most likely. And then you have stuff like this, which is even more broken on average. Verisium Remnants have at least 6 rune slots, and that means all of them. And in these grand expeditions, it spawns at least 5 to 6. I've seen upwards of 7. So that is why this thing is so expensive. So you will have to decide at the start, do you want to farm it? If you know a lot already about expedition, then you can do it. At the start, I would kind of just stick to farming all the bosses or most of the bosses and just going for it that way. But I'll quickly show you a grand expedition. So for maps, if you're doing a juicy one, you really want to use a tier 16. If you're doing a not juiced one, you can also do a tier 15. I'm saying that because of how juicy the gear can get that you're going to drop. But other than that, I guess you have to do tablets. Now, in terms of tablets, here's the thing. The only thing that really works is irradiated tablets. So if you want to, you can throw in 3 of them. Only 1 will really work because it irradiates your maps. But you can see stuff like pack size or experience, I guess, pack size, rarity, quantity of waste stones, whatever you can throw in there and get a little bit of extra monster effectiveness is probably the best. As for what monster I'm using Jado's Spycraft. This one, it gets unlocked by doing his quest line. It's as everything here on the right side, and you will see it. Go through his quest line, you'll get all the points. You want unexpected missions, plus Eastern Knowledge is the big one. Verisium Remnants have a 10% chance to be rolled an additional time, keeping the rarest outcome. Pretty damn ridiculous. 20% chance for double effect of explicit modifiers on tablets. If you're not using that, I'm not really sure what else you would. I guess you can go for increased exceptional items found. It's not terrible, I would say. Untold Histories is here if you want to farm bosses. If you don't farm bosses, most likely just spec once again into Keen Appraisal. So you put that in, and now we get into our first Grand Expedition. So I wrote down a few key points here. You will see a lot of remnants. If you want to do the low ones, sure. But I would skip almost every single remnant that has 3 for sure, 3 runes. If you've never seen it before, obviously I'll quickly show you. Now over here, there's one with 5, for example. This is the amount of runes that I'm talking about. Now at 5, I always click on it and just see what it has, right? Boom. And these are a little bit complicated, obviously, like a perfect jeweler orb or a masterwork rune. Perfect jeweler orb is like 80 exalts. Masterwork rune is like 20 something exalts. Now, if you don't know how to check these, I would highly recommend to go to Verisium on PoE Ninja. I will link this down below in the description, and you have a list right here, and you can kind of check for yourself. But this is something you'll get into over time. So here, obviously, I would, for example, take Perfect Jeweler. Now, other than that, I would skip the 3s, skip the 4s, unless they have a purple rune. So you can see right here, you can even hover over them. They have purple runes. These have special modifiers, and they are also usually attached to the bigger rewards. So if you go somewhere, you will see one of the runes stand out. And if this is a purple, I would always check it, because even on a 4, you could get a divine. Now, another rule is if you get a 6 rune 1 with bad rewards, if you get a 5 with bad rewards, everything over 4, I would still do, because it's not just about these rewards. The monsters that spawn are also quite big. They are rares after all. There's a ton of rares in there, and they drop their loot at the end. So you will also have to probably adjust your loot filter if you're showing a lot of rares and a lot of magic items, just telling you right now. But that is the gist of it. You still want to do it for what the mobs drop. You would be surprised how often it happens, for example, that you just drop a random divine there, right? And then for reward chests, so you can see these symbols right here. Most of them I skip. Currency is pretty darn good. You can drop a divine from these. It's probably like a 1 in 15 or so. And otherwise, you're going to drop some gumball currency. So that's not bad at all. Everything else is kind of meh. The rewards that we don't have here. Oh, there's one over here. If you can see that. The map one, it's like a star form. It will drop around 3 to 5 tier 15 maps, which is pretty strong as well. But you don't have to pay attention to them too much. Otherwise, the monster markers here are not as important. As far as I understand, you cannot drop logbooks from Grand Expeditions, only in normal maps. So usually that's what these are for. But these just mean big boy rare monsters, and they're decent. If you pick them up while you're pathing, definitely go for it. Now, Grand Expeditions take a lot of time, so what I personally like to do is actually scout out if it's even worth running. In this case, I saw one right at the start, and then I'm going to go over all the runes. You can see them, they have this symbol right here. And so go up and check all of them out, and if it's worth, then whatever. So for example, you're not going to path all the way up there and then see that it's garbage, right? You wouldn't do that. So in this case, I can see right here, it's a greater exalt, probably worth pathing up here. It's like 10 exalts. That's cool. So I already know there's one here, so I want to connect. And this is my big boy that I had guaranteed. Let's see what it is. 3 perfect regals. That's pretty much for what you could get there. Pretty much a brick, but it is what it is. This is a 3. I'm not even going to hover over it. It doesn't matter. And then that's about that. So this overall was a pretty whatever map. So now we'll just path over here. Boom, boom. You can do this while walking. Just go over it. Now, if you want to pay attention a little bit more and you want to fill out the rares a little bit more, you can do that. These are caves. So these caves right here, they can give you recipes for certain crafts. So go in for the first few ones, but after that, they're only really dropping chests. I've not personally seen anything else from them. If this is not true and it comes out that the caves can be OP, then my bad. That is just my personal experience right now. So Greater Exalt, boom. We go down. We pick up the currency chest along the way, because why not? And then we go over here. This one was Thaumaturgic Flux. This one doesn't really matter. Okay, sure. Go down. But like I said, even the ones with bad rewards can still spawn good rares. And I think at this point, we're pretty much done. Now, do you note that when you place your last explosive, so at the end, for example, you can just place them randomly. Once you place your last explosive, you get a checkpoint and you can go back to the start. And then the detonation begins. So it's detonated. Now, these Grand Expeditions, I'll just talk a little bit while I'm clicking this map. They have different modifiers. So for example, you saw this oil rig explodes when detonated. Subsequent explosives now have bigger radius, yada, yada, yada. Every map has its own gimmick, and this is something you'll have to figure out for yourself. For example, this map has high explosion radius, which means you're going to catch most monsters that are going to be anywhere. Also, I want to highlight that I have a pretty damn strict filter right now, and that is why you're going to see less than maybe you usually would. One annoying thing about expeditions is that you have to kill a lot of monsters in order to, like you have to clear almost all monsters to get the chain going. I'm personally not a huge fan of it, but you'll get used to it. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. So we're going to keep clearing this. So as for layouts that are really good, there is a sulfide layout that gives you these sulfide thingies to explode. And whenever you explode them, you will give increased rarity to all the monsters that follow. There is a map that gives, I don't know, the upsides and downsides. If you know Path of Exile 1 logbooks, for example, that is exactly how it works with the remnants. It has, I don't know, enemies are immune to lightning, but you get 40% increased rarity, stuff like that. So on those, you have to be a little bit careful, but otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. So I'll just show you this 8 encounter on top, because depending on what runes these have, the monsters can actually be way stronger than anything else. So this is the big rune that we're now going to go over. And some of these encounters are pretty damn rough. I will just tell you right now. So look out for if you can actually clear them and if it's a good idea to make the map extremely hard. That's all I'm going to say, depending on where you are in your gear level right now. So we're just going to clear this. Now, this seems like an easy one. I'm pretty sure that, yeah, this is an easy encounter. There are certain... I'll hover over it. So, oh, this is actually the 4. My bad. There are certain encounters here that are pretty damn rough. I got a Shrine Scepter. That's really nice. Certain encounters have monsters that respawn, for example, over and over, and they share their modifiers. So what will happen is they will just keep coming, and you will be like, why is there 10 waves of monsters here? And the reason is, yeah, they have certain modifiers that respawn them over and over, and that is what you want to get. In that case, you can get loot explosions with, I don't know, 50 tier 5 rares. I'm not over exaggerating, by the way. I had to completely readjust my loot filter just because of those encounters. Will it happen all the time? No, pretty rare, but when it happens, you'll notice. Either way, let me clear this real quick. This is the big boy one. So this was not a bad one. If you have over here, it says empowered, which means you're going to get more loot at the end from the monsters. Union of Souls. This one, I don't remember exactly what it does, but there is one that you will notice where, yeah, you're going to drop a lot more. So this is not going to be a loot explosion. It's going to be like, okay. So if you hover over here, you can see everything dropping. It's like, okay. But that's about it. And you do these over and over and over again. You can see quite a bit of loot, and I didn't really pay much because this was from a ley line. So I actually paid nothing for this. Do note that this was a Aldur's map though. Like I said, this one at the end came from the Aldurs, but everything else I dropped here was just a normal Grand Expedition. Now, what about the boss rewards? So the first thing I want to say is Vorana right now seems to be bugged for me. I've never dropped her support gem from her, but I have dropped her support gem from Medved. If you don't know what the support gem is that we're talking about here, it is Vorana's Siege, and it is worth quite a bit of monies right here, as you can see. And I've never dropped it from her. I've only dropped it from Medved. I don't know if there's like a reason for this or if it's bugged. I have not personally dropped anything from Vorana of note. So I'm not really doing her right now. I'm not forcing her. But all the other bosses are very, very strong. Medved is strong. Orov is strong. And Uhtred is also very good. Orov is probably the best one. And his Saga also costs 20 exalts, whereas the rest costs between 5 and 12. So if you take anything away from this video and how you should farm these, check for Fallen Starlight and bosses in these rumors. Always check all your rumors and make like notes. So I know this can get quite messy because you're going to unveil so many different things. But for example, let's say I had a Fallen Starlight right here. Just do right click and then make a note, say Fallen Starlight. And then you're going to see that note up here in the bookmarks. And then you can always jump back to it. So for example, you're over here and you click on Fallen Starlight, it will take you right back. Use Sagas to spawn more bosses. Like I said, I haven't had any success with Vorana, but all the other bosses are really strong and they're really quick to do and they drop good loot. If anything, they drop 2 to 3 Waystones, which is already like, yeah, like 9-10 exalts back. But the rest, yeah, you'll get some really good lineage gems over time. And then also, Aldur Saga, stay away from this unless you really want to do it. But if you want to do Aldur Saga, which is very expensive but very rewarding, I want to point that out. I'm currently farming it. Do not use other boss sagas. I don't know if they overwrite right now, but I have seen some bad results with them. Because if you think about it, there's a new biome spawning. And you want as many as possible of these juiced up Aldur's maps. And now you're blocking some of the layouts with these bosses, which I think can backfire. So I would highly recommend to only use Aldur Saga if you're farming that. Also, like I explained, check for the unknown ruins and do the ley lines. You will get a free logbook. Why wouldn't you do it? It's pretty much free. It's really damn good. And also check all the grand expeditions. You might think, oh, there is no modifier here. Doesn't really matter. The normal modifiers or whatever, you should always check. There could always be an 8 or 9 rune in there. You would be surprised because you will get upwards of 5 to 7 of these runes, and all you have to do is run through it, check it. If there's nothing there, just skip and go next. Oh, and I guess one more thing at the end. This is not going to happen too often, but if there's an absolute dogshit map right here, you can just put one, detonate, boom. Map is completed once you kill that first wave. And then you can move on to the next map. But yeah, that's about all I learned from Expedition so far. It's been an absolute blast, and I will be doing this over the next few days over on twitch.tv/Palsteron over and over again. Made a lot of monies, and really happy with the build. If you're looking for the build, the full guide will be out in the coming days. And yeah, Expedition is my favorite mechanic this patch so far. Really feeling the patch. With that being said, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.